Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobby Pominville and I do the reporting on the arts. So you are watching the arts segment today. And today I have brought in a very talented musician, composer, pianist, organist. I could go on. And his name is Chris Ashwod. If that sounds familiar, we recently did an interview with your father. And that was about the play, Radio Days. So, Chris, I want you to tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a musician. I know you're from a musical family, so tell us a little bit about that, how you got into music.
Well, I'm pretty much like a purebred musician because my dad played drums pretty much since he was 8 professionally, sitting in with my grandma and whatnot. My grandma would play piano, and if you had to go all the way back, my grandparents met together in choir at school and all that, and so it's a lot of musicians on that side. And then my mom is a band director. She teaches over at St. Pat's School, plays organ at my church and a bunch of other churches that in the past. So it just kind of...
So you grew up with music.
Right. And
I suppose it was pretty easy for you to take to the piano then.
Yeah, pretty much I was banging out little songs that I heard on Sesame Street.
Oh, yeah.
When I was like 4 years old or so, and then my folks were like, well, we better do something here. So they started me up with a piano teacher who was kind of half piano teacher, half child psychologist. So, and
really?
So, yeah, and Mrs. Hunter from White Bear Lake.
So that worked really well.
Yeah, and
wow.
So they, just did basic lessons and all that, and then later on, band in school, took on the trumpet.
Oh,
yeah. I wanted to play drums when I first started signing up for
imagine.
because my dad was a drummer, and
yes, and he probably had the trap set and everything in the house.
Oh yeah, we had instruments lying around all the time.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good route to go because note reading is important.
Oh yeah.
To me. But also you have the gift of improvisation.
Yeah.
And I think that's inbred. And you really, it's really hard to teach.
Yeah, and I think my ears have kind of made up for my eyesight, for one, things like that. And so I kind of, like I said, I was banging out songs when I was like 4 years old, little ditties, little songs.
So you were really playing by ear?
Yeah, mostly.
At an early age.
Yeah. I learned how to read music, but I prefer to use my ears. Yeah.
Well, and then, now, I don't know if you want to tell us, but what is it about your eyes?
Yeah.
I'd like you to talk about that a little because that does really make you, make it so much more difficult.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah. Well, I have ocular albinism. I've had it all my life. Yes. It's hereditary. I don't know how specific, but basically it's carried on the X chromosome on one of them.
Okay.
So it's a 50-50 shot of the boys getting it. The girls are the carriers, and the boys get the blindness if they do. So I have one brother that has it as well.
Yes, I knew that.
Ben, and then my brother Will, who doesn't have it. So.
Right.
So.
And those names would be familiar probably to people in town because I know Will's an actor.
Yeah.
And I had him at one point at the high school in choir.
Right.
And Ben I had one time in summer school, so I got to know him a little bit. But yes, okay, so, that's, I can't help but compare you a little bit to Beethoven.
Okay.
Or to another composer that has a disability, and yet the music became very, very important.
Yeah, sure.
So to me, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I think, we learn to express ourselves and through other ways, to make up for things that we can't do.
That's right.
And so it's just kind of easy for me just to go, here's music, and just play. So
yeah, and when I've heard you play, I've been just astounded. Thanks. But you do other things too. You do some sound tech work at the FIPS.
Yeah.
And that must be difficult.
Well, kind of. I don't know. My ears are more in tune to things, I think. So,
That's right.
Just kind of imagine things by sound and just kind of have an idea of what I want to try to approach. Try to make people, bring them to that spot, that that vision of whatever. So.
that's just wonderful, and I'm so glad you've got the venue right here in town to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's been fun. All my family has been involved with the productions there.
Oh, I know that. I've been to a lot of the plays and the drama and the musicals, and it's unusual if there's not an Ashwod.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
So now, then I was going to ask you, how did you get started now playing in different gigs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it happened in Hudson, I think.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah. You know, when my family moved here in Hudson in '88, I was pretty much just kind of laying low. Didn't know anybody and all that, and people didn't really understand my eyesight and whatnot. So I was kind of reserved. I didn't want to get picked on or anything like that. So, but then I kind of broke out of my shell and started doing a bunch of different bands and whatnot. In high school, did all the wind ensemble and the concerts and the choirs and all that. And so I met a lot of friends and made up our rock bands there, the group bands. And then after high school, I didn't really know what I was going to major in. I didn't really have a college to pick, but I just took a whole bunch of music courses, and I figured those would all apply and whatnot. And my first band, professional band, was called Swing Away, and it was a jazz trio band from here in Hudson. And I was playing at Le Palmeret French restaurant downtown at the time.
Yes.
And
that goes back a few years.
Yeah, '93. So and that's where the rest of the band discovered me and whatnot. And
how wonderful.
Yeah.
So mostly probably Hudson kids were in the band.
Actually,
a few from out of town, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, my rock bands from high school were all Hudson boys from school. And, but the jazz trio was actually a husband and wife that I met up, and they moved here in Hudson just around that time as well. So.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got now you've got lots of opportunities because you've got very interesting different styles of music you're doing. And I must talk about your CD. It's called My Stuff, Chris Ashwod. I don't know if that's going to glare, but when I was listening to it, and I was amazed at all the different styles of music you're playing on here, and I was wondering if you could tell us about some of it, and these seem pretty personal, some of these names. So. Yeah. And tell us about, what kind of styles you used for the different kinds of music.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, My Stuff came up with the title because basically I was telling people, hey, I'm going to be recording a CD, and it's all my stuff. So that's how it came up.
Perfect.
And the whole concept of it came up. It's been 10 years since I made this album.
Okay.
Since my last album, and the reason that I made this one is because of my job. I'm a record producer for Legacy Productions, and we record for schools and churches for fundraisers.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and we were making a website where it'd be easy for people to download their albums once they're there. Right. So this was kind of a test run. I was the guinea pig, and they said, could you just record a couple songs? And I was just like, might as well just make a whole album. So
perfect.
And My Stuff is a combination of different styles, a little bit of jazz, some gospel, a little bit of blues, contemporary, classical, whatever you want to call it. But it's
very easy listening.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put this on any time and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I just listened to it for the first time last week.
Well, I like to keep people entertained with that, and easy listening, not like Kenny G easy listening or whatever, but more like it's all instrumental and it's peppy. A lot of it is pretty peppy and whatnot, and I write my music thinking I want to try to please mostly everybody.
Yes, of course.
So even if they don't appreciate jazz or classical, they might like it because it's so energetic or whatever.
Really? So. Now tell me about a couple of these, will you? What about Owen's Lullaby?
Okay, Owen's Lullaby. I came up with that song because Owen's my son, and when he was born, I couldn't wake up mommy by singing too loud and whatnot. So I just do a little humming tune and rock him to sleep, and I just kind of came up with that melody, just humming the thing. And
that's
then,
so neat.
And then I actually recorded that for his baptism. So that we play that in the background.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
yeah, it was a nice little intimate
Sweet.
family baptism. We just had family members there.
Very neat.
Yeah.
And
so-
then you've got one called A Life to Celebrate. What
Right.
meaning does that have?
A Life to Celebrate, well, a couple different meanings. This is a whole dedication album. Every single song is dedicated to someone or a group of people or a place or whatever. It's all from the heart. And so
Yes.
this one was written in memory of Allison Hellman, who was the little daughter that of the Hellmans, Dr. Hellman, Kevin and Leslie Hellman. And
A tragic accident.
yeah, 16 months old, I believe, or 18 months. And anyways, it's not a depressing song. It's a song.
Oh, when
called-
you listen to it, it's very inspiring.
Yeah, it starts up with a little gospel flavor to it, and then it peps up. And basically, it's based on what I was inspired from watching the funeral. The funeral was so packed with so many people that we couldn't even fit them at our First Baptist Church here in Hudson.
Right.
So they had to get the big Catholic church here in town.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I mean thousands of people. It was crazy. And there's some. It wasn't your traditional funeral where it's like everybody was crying, and I mean, of course there were people sad and upset about it and whatnot. But we were just celebrating this little girl's life and how much she touched everyone, and
that's
even in just that brief moment.
And you composed it especially for that.
Yeah. I mean,
That's so special.
and I just happened to write it on Easter Sunday, so it kind of has that meaning as well of just celebrating Christ's resurrection.
So
as
it's
well
a
as-
perfect celebratory
Yeah.
piece for any time of the year when you would, in whether church or whatever.
Yeah, and everybody's life is worth celebrating, so it's
Oh,
kind of.
exactly.
And I always write my music so it could be either played, well, it could be played wherever.
Yes.
I play the stuff at bars, I play it at churches. It doesn't matter.
True.
Yeah, so.
I understand. And then here's another one. Tell me about this one. It's Jesus came to save. Excuse me.
Yeah, that one specifically just wrote that for Easter Sunday. I always feel high expectations from people expecting me to write up something that's going to make them go crazy and jump out their seats, and usually we do that. So.
All right. So you might hear something like that at your church.
Right.
The First Baptist Church.
As long as my second boy isn't born on Easter, I'll be there. So.
Oh, and you already know it's a boy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And Owen.
So you kind of are, you might say, the resident composer over there a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess.
Pretty
so.
much. And then they're very fortunate
Yeah, it was
because
fun.
they have your music coming in, and I'm sure they remind you of that too.
Right, yeah.
And then here's a cute one, Claire Blues.
Claire Blues, right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm very active at my church's camp. It's Camp Tamarack in Wapaka, Wisconsin, and just one of my first campers that I basically got to work with is Claire, and just.
She got a special song.
Yeah, but it's also for all my campers.
Yes.
You know, but
Okay.
it just happens to be for, you know, I like that name as well. But it's Claire Blues. How much I just this is one of those things where it's like I ever had a kid come up to me and just say, "I really love you. You're just so cool." I'm like, "Well, thank you so much." And it meant from that moment at camp, I dedicated at least 10 more years saying that I was going to come back and be with the kids, and
That is neat.
held up to it, and
Good for you.
so it's Claire and all the other campers that are just close to my heart that song's for.
That is so special.
So yeah,
And then I have to mention Amazing Grace. I mean, who doesn't love Amazing Grace? How
Right.
inspiring that melody is, and how it's beloved all over the world.
yeah.
And tell me about your version.
Okay. Well, this one's more of a, I don't know, Tin Pan Alley, Dixieland kind of flavor to it, and a little bit of gospel to it as well. This one I dedicated to Paul and Ann Martinson.
Oh,
Yeah, Paul was.
one of my favorite people.
Yeah, Paul's a great guy. He was our sub pastor for a little bit over at First Baptist, so I got to
Okay.
know him then.
Yeah.
And he's actually invited me to play at different churches that he's preached at.
Yes, because he does a lot of interim work
Right.
and fill-in work, you might say.
Right, exactly. So
Cool.
he knows about me. He's had me come over, talk about my mission trips and things like that. And then
Yeah.
most of the time, he doesn't want to hear me talk. He just wants to hear me play. So,
Oh, yes.
and that's the
because
song.
He appreciates your music too.
Yeah, and that's the song that he always
Sure of
asks
that.
for. So.
Okay, what is this one about? I don't get it. Don't want to go, don't want to stay.
Yeah. Well, around in, let's see, 1999, summer of 1999, I was, I decided to do some mission work over the Philippines, and I was helping with child centers, helping kids from the ages 3 to 5 to learn how to speak English and learn all the other stuff too. And then this would prepare them to go into an English-speaking school. And in the Philippines, basically, if you're born in a farm family or a fisherman, then basically that's what you're going to be stuck as. So these schools would give them a chance to get out of what they were born into, give them more of a chance to be whoever they wanted to be. So anyways, I went there, and I had never been out of the state before, out of the country, and flying over there, I didn't even know where the Philippines was.
Right a ways.
Right, and so by the time I got there, I kissed the ground. I was happy. I knew my place was to be there at that time. My Filipino parents over there pretty much adopted me and just said, if people love you here, they you could pretty much run as the governor of the island, and they'd vote for you. And anyways, everything was going great. And then before this happened, my step-grandmother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And before we left, she was clear and everything, but then later on, they found a tumor, and that's where the doc gave her about 6 to 8 weeks to live and whatnot. And it was kind of a crazy time because my mom and dad were just learning how to do email. So I was getting all these blank emails saying Beverly's tumor and then blank body of the email
no.
and all these things. And then I had some American friends who were coming in about a month after me, came in and gave me the bad news that she only had about 6 weeks to live. So I'm just torn. I'm just like, okay, this was a God thing. Why did you send me here? Yeah. And then this happens. Mm-hmm. So basically, I changed my airline tickets, all that stuff, getting ready to go. Yeah. I was emailing her my goodbyes, crying in the internet cafe, and then got an email back from her saying, "Don't leave on my account. Do your thing there." So
good.
So that's what I did. I stayed there even longer than I planned. And the cool thing about it was when I came back from the Philippines, she was still around for a couple more months. So despite what the doctor said.
Luck.
Yeah, so I wrote that song, Don't Want to Go, Don't Want to Stay, because basically the situation I was dealing with. And
not easy.
Yeah, and I actually performed that in the Philippines for the people, and it was a great moment.
Well, it seemed like there was a bit of a master plan going on there.
Exactly, yeah.
So it all worked out.
Oh yeah, and I've been there 3 times now, so.
Excellent. 3 times?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, is there any favorite style of music? Or do you just like it all? Or
I don't know, I just like to jam. I don't know. It goes all across the board. I mean, I could give you inspirations by Bach, Stevie Wonder, Miles Davis, the Beatles, Queen,
yes.
Stravinsky, Leonard Bernstein. I mean, it's just everywhere.
So you know a lot about music.
I'm not.
All different kinds of styles, and
Yeah.
and what you're doing is making your music, and you've got a wonderful background.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've had to lean towards one style, be jazz. You know, I like to improvise and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
I think jazz is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's American, and it's you have to have talents to do jazz.
Right.
And
right.
I think that's just a compliment to you.
Thank
it
you.
really is.
Thank you.
So do you think you'll be playing anywhere in the future? Are you looking for gigs?
Always looking for gigs.
right.
Been kind of on a hiatus with the boy and just being busy with record productions.
Yeah, that's
and
a good
stuff.
time to do that.
But
You'll
now
be busy coming up.
yeah, I'm ready to.
Rebirth.
But I'm ready to play. My dad will probably play drums for me, and I have a student, Joseph Cry, who plays bass, and we've been working on getting out there. So
Good. So that's another thing. You've got a little studio going.
right.
So you teach piano and you jam a bit with them.
Right, I teach piano, guitar, drums, and bass.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we teach all those.
Wonderful.
And then I also have rock band group lessons. I put my students together based on their age and their playing capabilities and who they might know.
Oh, that's
So
perfect.
we're pretty busy. I got 34 students now, so.
See, that's just phenomenal. And you don't really see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Where you get to, I mean, sure, you might be studying by yourself,
Sure.
but to be able to jam with people and put
Yeah.
groups together like you're doing, I
It's
think that's wonderful.
a great experience for the kids, and they get to be exposed to so many different things now.
I think that's great. And so, let's say that you got a call from this interview, you would be able to put a band together and go
sure.
for it.
Yep, not a problem.
And then the other way we might be able to hear you is to visit First Baptist.
Yeah, First Baptist.
Probably
sure.
on Easter for sure.
Right, right.
And maybe other times too.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did want to mention that the paper did a wonderful article on you
Yeah, that's nice.
just last January,
Yeah.
the 19th. And I cut that out and I said, I am going to interview him.
I just asked for just a little blurb saying Chris Ashwod's CD is out.
Right, and look what they did.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've found it too, is that they're very, very willing to advertise and promote. And that's what I want to do today, is I really want to promote you and your musicianship. And I hope you get lots and lots of calls.
Yeah.
And God, I'd love to hear you play again.
Yeah, and we'll,
One of these days.
yeah, we'll be all around. I'm over at Urban Olive and Vine downtown
yeah.
from time to time. So
Okay, now
Yeah.
do they have like a Friday night sort of a music
yeah,
deal?
Friday nights, Saturday nights. I think sometimes even Sundays.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful addition to our town.
Right. Right.
She does a very good job with attracting people.
Right. And I'm hoping to do a show over at the Phipps sometime. Maybe rent out the black box and have a big CD party
wouldn't
there.
that be
So,
nice?
Yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to that, Chris.
Sounds great.
Have we forgotten anything?
Boy, I don't know. You got a lot.
I don't think so. But I do want to thank you for coming.
Thank you,
It's
Bonnie.
been wonderful talking to you, and more than just saying, oh, hi, how are you?
Yeah, great.
This has been great. So please think about getting together with Chris sometime, listening to him play, or if you want to contact him to get his CD, he's in the phone book.
And you can also download the music at tuneswoon.com.
Tuneswoon?
Yep. TUNESWOON.com.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much for watching today, and we hope you enjoyed the show.